Are you in debt or you are thinking of using debt as a financial tool? So in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 different strategies of handling debt. Now, in the financial world, there are 2 very common ways of paying off debt, and these 2 strategies are hugely popular. One is called the Snowball method, which is popularized by the financial educator Dave Ramsey. And in the Snowball method, basically you take the smallest debt first and pay it off, and this creates a snowball as you work your way towards the larger balance debt. And then there is the second one, which is more mathematically sound and sometimes considered better in terms of financially, because that's called the Avalanche method, where we start with the debt that has the highest interest rate, that means which is costing us the most, and try to tackle it first, and then we work our way down to the lower interest rate states. But in this video, I'm going to come up with a different perspective of handling debt. Now, debt can have many different implications in our lives. Some people are very averse to debt and they will say that, okay, I don't want any debt in my life. Also, depending on at which stage in your life you are. Maybe if you are heading towards your retirement, your mindset could be to get rid of debt as soon as possible. But on the other hand, if somebody is just starting up and, like, let's say they are in their first job, or they have a lot of things to buy at this point, maybe they bought a new home, now they want to buy furniture, they have to buy a new car. In these cases, sometimes debt is avoidable and they will probably start off with some debt. And then there would be people in the middle where they have some debt, but they are not able to pay it off, or they don't have a good strategy for paying it off. So there are these different ways of looking at debt. And another angle could be, what kind of debt are you taking up? Is it a credit card debt or a consumer loan, which is typically very costly because those are unsecured debt, and they are not secured against any collateral. The bank is hoping that you will pay on time, and if not, they are going to charge you a very high interest rate, sometimes in the tune of more than 20% per annum. And the second kind of debt could be it is tied to an asset like a car or some kind of an asset, but typically these assets also go down in value. So that's why the interest rate will be lesser than a credit card, but it will still be substantial, and it is purely extended to you because the bank wants to make money and you get an immediate gratification by buying that dream car of yours. And then finally, there are the mortgage kind of debt, where it is tied to an asset like real estate, which typically goes up in value, not always, but then the bank considers it as one of the safest debt that they can extend, and that's why you will get a sufficiently lower interest rate on that. Now, these are things all known to people, and if you are watching other personal finance channels, I'm sure you are already knowledgeable in this. So I want to shift your perspective to 3 different strategies on handling debt. So the first one is avoiding debt. So you may have a personal finance plan where you consider that, okay, I will try to avoid debt as much as possible. And this is sometimes the Dave Ramsey kind of followers also, where they don't even use credit cards, they'll use a debit card or just do all of their transactions in cash. And yeah, this is one of the best forms of managing your personal finances if you are not very savvy about controlling your expenses, or if you are not very savvy about actually strategizing your personal finance or building your wealth. So that's a perfectly good way of doing that. I have myself built my foundation of my personal finance in this way. And I have a 4-step guide where I talk about the 4 steps of building your foundations to personal finance. And if you go in the description below, you will see that there is a link that I will put there, from where you can download this guide free of cost to go through those 4 steps. So the second one is, actually you are rushing. That means you are already in debt and you are rushing to pay it off. And this could be because of the high interest rate that you are being charged, or some financial coach or financial advisor have shown you how much money you are losing every year. And this is the point where you say that, okay, I'm not going to take this anymore, and I'm kind of getting a lot of stressed out because of this debt, so I'm just going to create a debt payoff plan. And this is where you can use either the Snowball method or the Avalanche method. It does not matter which one you use, because at the end of the day you have a very solid plan of paying off that debt. So this is called the rush method of just rush towards that and pay it off, put all your other financial priorities on hold for some time, and whatever extra money you have after your essential expenses, you're going to throw towards this debt. And then the third part is the third strategy is actually to strategize your debt. That means you take on debt systematically and you decide how to deal with that. Like in the low interest rate times in the last before 2022, when the interest rates were really low in the US, a lot of people have taken mortgages and they decided not to pay off the mortgage early. That means they decided to rather reinvest that money that they were paying extra on their mortgages, and that way it's a perfectly fine strategy for a lot of people. It depends on how far are you from the retirement, or some people are completely fine carrying a mortgage into their retirement. The other kind of strategy could also be if you are buying a car. So instead of putting, let's say, $20,000, $30,000 down in cash immediately, some people decide to take on a car loan, even though it will have a relatively higher interest rate. Maybe nowadays it's around 6 to 7%, and sometimes it can fit into your master plan of your finances, that okay, I'm going to use the cash for maybe an emergency fund or for doing something else, some other investments, and rather pay off the car slowly. And so this is really the strategy method of handling your debt. So these are the three different methods for handling your debt. One is avoiding debt completely, and you can decide to do it at some point, and if that is your strategy, that's fine. The second one is rushing to pay off debt, and of course here the starting point is that you have a significant amount of debt that is stressing you out, and this is where you can use the Snowball and the Avalanche method. And then finally, you strategize on your debt. That means you take on debt as a financial tool, but in the last part, be very, very careful, because debt is kind of a double-edged sword. It's kind of like fire. So when you play with it, you have to be very careful. You have to know how to play with it, and you have to keep your emotions in check. You don't want to like overspend on your credit cards, or you don't want to take on a huge car loan that starts stressing your finances. So hope you like this video. Please smash the thumbs up below and subscribe to my channel. That way YouTube will show you other personal finance videos that I'll be creating in the coming days. Thank you.